Weekend Prime, and today I told you that we're discussing depression, specifically postpartum depression. Now, definitely, when there is postpartum, mostly we think about the mom. But on the other side, we have the father, the dad. They are impacted when it comes to matters postpartum depression. And that's why today on our Imagine segment, we are looking at the numbers where we stand in regards to paternal, that is father's postpartum depression. Let's take a look at these numbers. As you can see right there, 5% of fathers globally experience postpartum depression. Okay, that is something that is of concern. Then we're told that fathers with depressed patterns, that is fathers with depressed partners rather, I mix it up, partners are more than twice as likely to experience depression themselves, according to a multinational study published by the Journal of American Medical Association. So there again is exacerbated when the mom is experiencing postpartum depression. Then we can say, oh, research, it was touching on America. How about Kenya? There was research done actually in Ethiopia. 29% of fathers experience postnatal or postpartum depression driven by financial stress and lack of support, which is quite interesting. Right now, I want to invite a mental health activists. They've been abducting activists of late, so you have to be careful. Mr. David Moore, thank you very much for making time to speak to us. It's quite interesting that when you talk about depression, first of all, just generally, overly depression, men are more affected, and is actually because we don't share that much amongst ourselves. Bring me up to date on matters men and depression.
Yes, so men have a challenge with processing difficult emotions because historically we've learned that we should just bear it down. Yet that is not really true, because in the past we had very close-knit communities of men. And so our friendships are now superficial, and so we have fewer channels of where we can actually bear ourselves open with our friends. Amongst couples, we have a difficult time being very vulnerable with our wives because we understand that if I'm vulnerable with my wife, she may take it as weakness, and therefore my position as the authority in the home could be compromised. But these are just ideas, they're not reality, because every family is as different as people are. And also on top of that, we have many stresses that we do not know how to deal with and cope with because we don't have an outlet, we don't know how to talk about it, and so we just suffer in isolation. And then because we're much more aggressive, we are much more likely to take our lives more effectively as compared to the ladies.
And that aggressive part, I get it, because you know, when we go, we go.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And it's quite of concern. But talk to me. Personal experience.
Yes.
Have you experienced depression? How does it look? Because sometimes people expect, you know, you're walking, you're slouching, wherever you are, you know, we can read. But apparently, majority of the people who are depressed actually make good comedians in many contexts.
Indeed. So I've had 6 years of experience with depression. So between 2013 and 19, I tried killing myself about 3 times and harmed myself more than 20 times or so. And as you said very well, externally we can think the person is okay. And that gives us the 2 categories. There's a high functioning depression, and there's now just a typical depression, which you can see in terms of the low mood, the person isolates themselves, and now they're trying to escape from reality in all forms of ways. One way we escape is through work. As men, we're very good at workaholism, so we'll escape from the reality through our work. But then in severe cases, we'll escape through killing ourselves. And so the low moods, the lack of motivation to do things that you really enjoyed doing before, isolating yourself from your friends, from those who are most closest to you, those are now the signs and symptoms of things that are beginning to unravel. And so it doesn't begin like this. It's a very slow and steady creep into a very huge, difficult moment for that person, because that will last for about 3 months, 6 months, and that can continue for a year. And so you feel like you have a lack of agency, because as long as you're losing motivation to do anything, you begin to lose competency in things that you'd actually do. And so because you deny yourself the opportunity to work, to serve others, you become less competent, you begin to believe that I'm not worth anything. And so you lose agency of your life. And so you're just carried away either by your passions or just by the moods of the day. Yeah.
And sometimes, I don't know whether it's difficult trying to identify when you're starting to go down that path.
Yes.
Are there telltale signs that you can observe in your life?
Yes.
Like personally, sometimes I can look, when I'm not functioning 100%, I look at my surrounding, my house, my desk, how it looks, and I'm like, hey dude, you've just been chilling here and the way it looks so messy. Talk to me about those telltale signs that you can be cautious around as a man.
So beginning with very simple things, like you lose an ability to follow your schedule. So you're not able to wake up on time, sleep on time. You're not able to follow the tasks of the day. So if you're meant to be at the office by 8 a.m., you're not able to make it. And then again, you're not able to take care of your general surrounding or even of yourself. You're not showering for the week. You're not even attending to your studies. So you begin to not take care of yourself, and you allow yourself to move based on how you're feeling that day. And the danger is, that can happen for a day. That's very normal, a week even. But if it happens for, let's say, 3 months, what will now begin to follow is you begin isolating yourself from others, because you begin to feel that I do not belong in society. I cannot interact with society. I cannot engage with them, because your opportunities, those touch points for competency again, begin to erode. And work is where we get to also meet with other people and have social interactions. So now we begin to cave in within ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, quite sad. And if, today, you know, we're talking about postpartum.
Yes.
And men, dads, could be first-time dads especially.
Yes.
How is that a vulnerable stage? You are a father.
Yes, I'm a father and husband to a wonderful wife. Yes.
Talk to me about depression and these postpartum challenges, especially from a man point of view.
Okay, so picture this. It's day one, your child is born, you're excited. You go to pick your wife, you come back home, and then the minute you try to touch the child is crying every single second. But when the child is in the mother's hands, very peaceful. So you begin to register at a very quiet level that I'm rejected by my child. And maybe that continues for a few days, and now it begins to sink in a bit deeper. But then, more crucially, you're not sleeping. Because nighttime comes, the child wants to feed every 30 minutes, every 1 hour, but your body is not configured to be able to stay up, just like the mother's is. Because the mother's melatonin levels, which is responsible for her to sleep, has dropped. So she's able to stay up every so often, but you can't.
Okay.
And so you're now sleep deprived, so you're physically vulnerable and you're exhausted. And so with time, what tends to happen is, and so with time, what tends to happen, because you're already physically compromised, your ability to sway with the moods becomes heightened. And then you figure out, okay, this life is very difficult. My wife is resentful because she thinks I don't want to help her. My child is rejecting me. And so I think, how can I escape? Where can I go and feel competent? My work. So workaholism is one of those ways that we begin to see the symptoms. Another way is, unfortunately, risky sexual behavior, because you want to get a dopamine high. You want to feel good about yourself. And so you look for all these forms of escapism. And then eventually, in severe cases, suicide. Because you want to escape from this reality that you are unable to engage with. And so your relationship with your wife is compromised, your relationship with your son is compromised, you're alienated from your own home. So you try and find a place where you can belong, where you can feel, yes, I'm the man, I'm the dude. Yeah.
I see that. That's quite interesting. And I know our lights are pretty. Yeah, I can see they. Can I have some of that? Do you have? Let me have that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, studio environment is quite interesting. Yeah. The lights are shining here, man.
Thank you very
much. Can just wipe off the sweat. That is okay. Yes. Now we're looking good. Look at us, man. Yeah. Future father, current father, you know. Yeah. So there is that stress, and escapism now leads to risky behavior. Yeah. When you're in such environment, looking at the data, majority of the people, so financial burden seems to be a huge concern and a huge push towards depression.
Yes.
Is the solution just make money and start singing along Sauti Sol Lia kwenye Range Rover?
Well, not necessarily, because luckily in the African society, we are intertwined with such strong social bonds. So it's not a poor thing for a man to ask for help from his father, from his relatives, from his aunties, because traditionally you'll have your in-laws coming to visit to help you around. So for men, we need to ask for help. We need to ask for help and to be comfortable with that. Because in the first year of life, the most critical needs for a child will be the diapers. He or she feeds from the mother. So those are the critical needs for you. You're back at work maybe in 2 weeks' time because the leave that you have just allows you 2 weeks or so. And so you can go back to making money, and the additional cost that the child will bring will not change your entire household if you are able to open up and ask your friends for help. And that ties in very closely with the lack of support that men feel. Because everyone is like, yeah, we have a mom support group, but the dads are like, okay, who do I talk to? And so we as men need to learn that we can actually reach out, tap into our social networks, into our friends, and ask for help. So that it's no longer a superficial friendship where we're just talking about Arsenal or Chelsea. But I can tell you, I need help paying for diapers because they're just spiked. They're now 2,000 shillings. Please help me out. And that's okay. And as men, that even makes you have much more authentic friendships with the men around you. Because you'll only be as vulnerable, as intimate with your friends as you are vulnerable.
I see that. Because building friendships is quite interesting for men. You know, there's a challenge that is going on social media. And it's quite interesting because you call your friends and you wish them good night. I know good night is not the standard of, I don't know, ultimate friendship. But the way people react to that is like, why? Are you okay? You know? What's going on with you? In terms of creating those deep, meaningful connections amongst ourselves, even as we finish, how can we tailor these relationships better that will be more beneficial, especially for the hard times?
I think it begins with, first of all, the most critical relationship, that is the husband and the wife. As men, we need to learn to be vulnerable with our wives, and as wives, to receive the man's vulnerability very, very well. Because once we have that, it means that the friendships you now build beyond that have the same color and the same taste that you have at home. Because if you don't practice vulnerability with your wife, how can you be vulnerable with the person who's farther from you than your own wife, with whom we share the bed? Now with men, we do things our friendship grows when you're doing things side by side, not when we sit down and just talk. So get a hobby, things like, I don't know, woodworking, or if you guys like going for a drive, but go and do something practical together. And then in that way, you're able to talk about deep and meaningful things. But in the environment of a club, there's very little silence that will allow you to actually go deeper to where the issues are. So get things that you can do in common with other men, and then now begin the journey.
Wow, we need a little bit of silence, and I like that men, we love being side by side with each other, so doing things together, very, very important. In closing, based on your experience, you've walked this journey almost 6 years. If you have that one critical message that you will pass to a man out there, or generally our audience, from that experience and recovering and being a voice to bring sanity in this space, what will that be as we finish up?
I think it's important for us to rediscover what truly loving another person is, because in essence, it means we are serving each other. When you get to serve another person, you get to discover your gifts, your talents. You begin to realize that you're not useless. But if you isolate yourself and you just begin seeking yourself, you are doomed. So serve one another, understanding that as the essence of love.
Wow. Man, we have to decenter ourselves and start serving one another, even as we take care of ourselves. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
It's a very good conversation, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully we do better as men. I challenge you tonight. Call one of your friends, one of your boys, wish them good night. They'll be like, are you okay? And thank you very much, David Mora. Now you're speaking this mental health activism?
Well, I support young men who are married or not in their journey just to become better. And overcome, just bearing the sufferings of this world very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was a good conversation, man. David Mora, and it says he's walked this journey. We have to develop deeper connections. And how does that come about? By learning to serve each other, truly love each other, and take care of each other, which is very, very critical. He says that if at all you're going through anything, please learn to open up, right? don't suffer in silence. We are here for you. Well, that's been our conversation on Weekend Prime. We take another short break. We still have more to come from the world of business and sports later on. Stay tuned.